So this week, Hyundai sent me the 2024 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy to test and review for you guys. And if you follow the channel, then you'll know this is a vehicle I really don't have all that much time with. So yes, in case you missed it, that was a heavy sarcastic comment, as the 2023 and 2024 Palisade has been greatly covered here on the channel. I have many hours behind the wheel and just creating video content, not only of the trim walkarounds, but also comparison videos against different competitors and vehicles like that. So I have a number of hours with this vehicle, but even with that said, it was still great to spend several days in a row testing out this vehicle in real world conditions, how I would actually use a vehicle, and just getting to experience it day after day. So as usual, in this video, I want to go over my likes and dislikes here over the last week with the Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy, give you everything that I really enjoyed about this vehicle and have known to enjoy, but also a couple other things that I didn't know that I actually disliked about this vehicle until I lived with it for a few days in a row. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my likes and dislikes with the 2024 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy. Now my first like here with the Palisade Calligraphy has to do with the Ergo Motion driver's seat. Now unfortunately this feature is only found on the top Calligraphy trim, but it's not generally a feature that you'll find in the $50,000 price point, especially for a new vehicle, let alone the low $50,000 price point. So essentially, if you're unfamiliar with the Ergo Motion seat, it's a massaging driver's seat, unfortunately not found on the passenger side, but there's a button on the side of the seat itself, as well as you can tailor some of these settings on the infotainment system between a couple pre-selected menu items such as pelvic, lumbar, or whole body massage, and it uses air bladders and some of the lumbar support inside of the seat itself to essentially just give you a massage based on these settings or whatever you have chosen via that button. It's great for longer road trips. It's even great for around town, just, you know, sitting either in a drive-through, going on your normal daily commute, whatever you might need. It just takes the pressure off your lower back and bottom a little bit from the daily, you know, stresses that you may have inside of your vehicle. So just a great feature. I enjoyed using it pretty much every day here inside the Palisade, and something you really don't see in this price point. Now my second like here inside the Palisade has to do with the power folding third row seats. Now there's actually 3 different methods to control those power folding third row seats here from the infotainment screen, in the third row seat itself, as well as in the cargo area. So if you simply go to setup, vehicle, go into some of the seat controls here, and then go into third row seat back folding, as you can see, that pulls up a menu where you can actually fold the left or right hand side or both of them simultaneously via the infotainment system. Now, like I said, you can also use the controls via the seat backs in the third row themselves to either unfold the seats or adjust the actual recline if you're sitting back there yourself. And then finally, of course, it does have the adjustments to fold the seats down in the cargo area, in addition to the second row power folding release mechanisms. It's really just a great feature, and nice that you can control it here on the infotainment system in case you don't want to get out of the vehicle or whatnot. You can simply fold those seats down with one single press of a button. As you can see, they're coming down, and allows for a little bit of additional cargo capacity. So I did like that feature, and like here how it is implemented in the Palisade. Now my third like with the Palisade Calligraphy has to do with the volume knob in specific. Now this is actually something that I really didn't realize would be such a big deal, but I like how it is designed in comparison to some of the other competition out there. So the volume and tune knob itself, it has a very nice knurled pattern finish on it, but the aspect I really do like about it itself is how deep or far away from the dashboard it sticks out. Now, some of the recent competitors or other manufacturers' vehicles I've had out there over the last several weeks have really shallow knobs that are actually hard to grip when you put your fingers up against whatever surface it is mated towards. But the Palisade has, just a knob that's located farther out. As you can see there, you can press it, and it does have a little spring detent for a little bit of selection. But when you just place your fingers on it, it's very easy. There's a lot of depth to it, and it makes it just, for a more easy to use, enjoyable system as a whole. So really like these physical buttons. I hope Hyundai keeps them in the next generation Palisade. And that's just a very, very small item that I think other manufacturers should really test and use before they implement knobs that are extremely shallow and, just hard to grip. Now my fourth like about the Palisade Calligraphy and every single Palisade for the 2024 model year and onwards has to do with BlueLink Plus. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Hyundai's BlueLink, it's essentially the remote app services, some of the other additional safety items, GPS tracking, vehicle locator, send to car destinations, etc. It's basically their suite of full features. Digital key is even lumped into the BlueLink suite as well. And for 2023 Ioniq 6 and every single 2024 Hyundai model, they've implemented and enhanced this even further with BlueLink Plus, which essentially is the full suite of features that comes free for the lifetime of the first owner. So if you purchase one of these vehicles brand new from your local dealership, it comes with BlueLink Plus, which is free for the lifetime. Now, obviously, this is a asterisk item because lifetime could mean whenever 4G LTE service is not supported. I don't believe this vehicle or any Hyundai vehicle currently uses 5G services. But anyways, likely whenever 4G LTE is phased out or the technology becomes obsolete, which I would assume 10 plus years of services, free for lifetime here inside these vehicles. You don't have to pay for a monthly subscription, and you get the full feature set available for your Hyundai, no matter what you do. So great to see that. I think it is a product enhancement and feature that Hyundai has certainly touted over the last 12 months promoting BlueLink Plus, and I think it's good for them for offering these services at no additional cost to customers. Now, my fifth like about the Palisade has to do with the surround view and blind spot view monitoring systems. Now, with the surround view monitor, you also get the blind spot view monitor, which shows up here in the 12.3-inch digital cluster. And as you can see, when you turn on your turn signal, either the left or right hand side, it replaces that dial with the actual camera, and you can actually view the side of the vehicle and what is in your blind spot. Now, I think it's actually a very useful system in addition to the blind spot detection, of course, on the mirrors themselves and the audio warnings, but to have a visual warning as well, I think is something that stands out from some of the competition. I know there are a couple other manufacturers out there that offer similar systems to this, but I think the way Hyundai has implemented it is very good. The only small complaint I have is I think it would be nice to have the viewpoint a little bit higher up on the actual camera. As you can see, it is pointed mostly towards the ground. I think if it was just angled or cropped a little bit higher up, I think that would be more beneficial to me in personal preference. But in day-to-day life, it works extremely well, and I think it's a feature that is just nice to have, and that is actually found on the SEL Premium and higher. So I think that's going to do it for all of my likes with the Palisade Calligraphy. Now let's move into some of my dislikes. Some of these I already knew prior to driving this vehicle for the week, but a couple of these I actually found out during my week with the vehicle. So my first dislike is a very obvious one that Hyundai owners have complained about for the last several years, and that is the fact that only wired Android Auto and wired Apple CarPlay is available here on the infotainment system. Now, I'm unsure of some of the changes for the 2025 model year Palisade. It is going to be mostly a carryover, but we have not found all of the exact changes for this generation. But an all-new Palisade is coming for the 2026 model year, which is still probably about 12 months or so out in terms of calendar year. But this vehicle, as equipped for 2024, comes with the older Hyundai UI that was enhanced and revised for 2023, but unfortunately only supports wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So if you want to use that, you have to use the USB-A data cable here in the center console, plug your phone in, and honestly, it just ends up being quite the hassle to do so. And I really do appreciate the wireless functionality from other Hyundai vehicles that recently have gained that capability, such as the all-new Santa Fe, the Sonata, the Hyundai Kona, etc. So really do like that aspect about some of the next generation Hyundai vehicles, but unfortunately that is not supported here in the 2024 Palisade. Now, my second dislike with the Palisade Calligraphy has to do with this trim in specific, and that is the climate control LCD touchscreen. Now, you might be wondering why I dislike it, and you can kind of see here at this specific angle, and that is the glare that comes in here from the windshield and or the sunroof itself, depending on your seating position and the angle of the light coming into the cabin. So I actually didn't know that this was something that I would dislike, but after driving the vehicle, it's actually, so reflective at times that it washes out the entire screen, about, 75% of the way or so, and it actually can be hard to see certain functions and buttons on the screen. but unfortunately that is just the way it is here in the calligraphy trim. Now, if you get any of the other trims of the Palisade, you will not get this LCD touchscreen. So it's basically a non-issue, as you know, it all has physical buttons and controls. But I really do like the touchscreen itself. I think the functions work very well. You can see here it's very responsive. There's actually no issues I have with it. It's just the fact that, you know, it's a shiny screen here at, you know, the angle that Hyundai decided to position it at, and it does have some glare issues. Now, my third dislike has to do with the Harman Kardon premium audio system. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos here on the channel, then you'll know that this is something I have mentioned in many Hyundai premium audio systems or trims available with the premium audio system. And I think the system is adequate. It's passable to the average listener. It may be okay. But if you're an audiophile or used to some of the, you know, higher end luxury systems from even other mainstream manufacturers, but especially the luxury manufacturers with their premium offerings, then I would not be surprised if you would be a little bit disappointed with the performance of this audio system. Now, some of the main issues I have with some of Hyundai's premium audio systems is it seems like they are slightly underpowered. They tend to start clipping at the higher volume levels and rolling off of the bass quite quickly once you get above, you know, 75% volume, about, you know, 35 to 37 here on the actual increments out of 45 total volume levels. But, you know, I just think that Hyundai should really try to revise it, make it much more premium sounding, especially for the next generation Palisade. I think that would enhance the overall feel and, you know, sense of quality, and of course the audio inside the vehicle much more than it currently is. It's, you know, for a average listener, I don't know what their opinions are on it, but, you know, to me, even just coming out of some of the other brands with their premium offerings, I think Hyundai is a little bit behind the times in terms of their audio systems. It doesn't get extremely loud, and like I said, once you turn it up near max volume, you lose a lot of the low end. And, you know, the sound is just not as good as, you know, some of the other vehicles out there. So if you're not really into music all that much, it really shouldn't be a big deal. It's a decent experience. But if you really do like the, you know, quality music, high-end, you know, brands with your loud systems, you have a lot of power behind them in the amplifiers, then unfortunately that is not going to be the experience you have here in the Palisade. Now, my fourth dislike here with the Palisade has to do with the seating position. Now, this is actually something that I have mentioned in some of my other videos, test driving the Palisades and comparing it to other vehicles, is the sense of the seating position, even with the seat at its lowest position inside the cabin, just feels extremely upright and feels like you're sitting on top of the vehicle rather than maybe within it. So generally, I like to have the seats all the way down for vehicles that I'm driving. Occasionally, I'll get one or two where I do have to raise it up just a little bit because it actually goes too low for my taste. But here in the Palisade, I really kept wishing the seat went lower because I just feel like I'm sitting so high up. And one of the aspects in specific that has bothered me is the center console armrest height versus that of my body. Now, I do have spinal fusion, so that means my back is a little bit more straight than the average person out there. I can't necessarily slouch at all. So my back's basically fixed in place, my torso's a little bit taller, and that might be why some of this feeling is, you know, happening inside the Palisade. But, you know, the center console armrest is actually borderline so low compared to where my elbow actually rests at a 90-degree angle or so, that it becomes somewhat uncomfortable under longer distance or, you know, longer times inside the vehicle. So, you know, if the seat went an inch or two lower, that would help out tremendously. I think that would change my entire opinion of the actual experience I get here behind the wheel from the driver's seat. But overall, I think as it is, it's still a comfortable, pleasurable experience, but I think it's borderline for my specific body and my preferences for ideal comfort situations. So again, this is probably something that will not pertain to the average person out there unless you're on the taller side, have a longer torso, you know, have, you know, certain proportions to your body and how your arm interacts on the armrest. So I think that's going to do it here for all my specific likes and dislikes here on the 2024 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy. Now, as a whole, this vehicle has an extreme value proposition to it. And I think that is generally one of the aspects that draws me to it and draws me to recommend it to anybody out there looking for a mid-size 3-row SUV. For about $53,000 to $54,000 as this vehicle is equipped, I don't think you can really ask for more in terms of a feature set than this vehicle really has to offer. You know, heated ventilated first and second row seats, that's not even found only on the Calligraphy. You can get that on the SEL Premium, which once again starts at about $48,000 with all-wheel drive. And, you know, I think Nappa leather seating surfaces, you get, you know, all the technology with highway drive assist 2, Hyundai Digital Key 2.0, the nice dual 12.3-inch screens, albeit, you know, on the older UI or software. All of this adds up to be a very pleasurable, near luxury experience for the low $50,000 price point. So I think that is really ultimately what you should take away from this video, is not necessarily the small nitpick items I have in terms of likes and dislikes, although those are going to be beneficial. But I think the, you know, overall value proposition is why the Hyundai Palisade has remained so popular from its introduction for the 2020 model year. And you know, I'm assuming that Hyundai is closely looking at what they're implementing in the new next generation Palisade, not only to make it probably slightly larger than the current footprint to compete with some of the more recent entrants into this segment, but also you know, just keep some of the aspects that people have loved and enjoyed with this vehicle over the last you know, 4 or 5 model years, whatever it's been. And I'm sure that's continuing on for the next 2025s as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I mentioned in this video? If you guys enjoyed it and or found something helpful, make sure to hit that like button below. It greatly helps out the channel in these videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. I want to give a huge thanks to Hyundai for sending out the Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy for me to test and review for you guys. Of course, this is something, you know, that I've spent, you know, hours with, you know, reviewed and touched on here on the channel quite a bit. But it was still very beneficial and nice to drive this vehicle for a week and get a better understanding of what people, you know, experience with it, you know, generally on a day-to-day basis. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate the continued support and hope to see you guys in the next one.